Welcome. Sorry, a little delay with me on talking, but I want to make sure that chat was set up to go so that people can see it live. And we can talk. Neo getting crushed. Ooh, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. Let's see. What do we got? Welcome. MyberTube says, bought 101 more today. Love these prices. You know what? I'm with you on the price thing. I think it is so crazy. And what I'm starting to see more of is within the Neo community, people who are really excited about the price action and seeing it as an opportunity to buy. And so I'm just kind of watching that as it kind of takes shape. And I'm just real curious because it's still so early. By the way, people, please click that thumbs up and let me know, somebody in the chat, if you can see me and hear me all right. Hopefully the audio and the picture is coming through okay. What's up, Rune? Welcome. Says, hey, Aaron. And Jacob says, you're late. Yes, I am. I was, yeah, no excuses. I'm late. Sorry. I think I was a minute late on that. So I got to get my life together. What can I say? Jacob says, so glad I sold half when it was higher. Now moving, now buying back in. I wonder how many people have done that or are doing that. I'll be curious to hear that. Gary, what's up? This is one. I see you first on the video sometimes, Gary. I see you. My YouTube says all good. Okay, good. So the audio is picking up all right. I don't think Seth is going to make it. My buddy Seth couldn't be here, and that's okay. He's here whenever he can be, and it's always fun with him. I call him, well, I'm now referencing him as Mustache Seth sometimes because Jeff San Francisco, NIO San Francisco has called him that. Is that money vesting? Oh man, you know what, Caddy? In fact, let me do something real quick offline. If y'all don't mind for a second, I almost did this earlier, Caddy. Check your messages on Twitter, would you, buddy? I'll send you something here. And if you have the time, I know Caddy, for those who don't know, money vesting, phenomenal channel. And if there was only one finance channel on YouTube I could watch, it would be his, because the guy's just a beast. He stays in beast mode, so he doesn't have to get into beast mode. He just stays there. But yeah, always enjoy watching his content, and so happy that he stopped through. And maybe we'll see. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Yeah, Jacob says okay, still no, Gary says okay, and Jacob says still ugly. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough out here. And hold that thought, folks, because we got a special surprise here for you.
What's up, Aaron?
What's up, Caddy? Welcome, buddy. Can you hear me okay? I don't know.
What's up?
Is there a delay? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, good. Welcome. Hey, fun fact for anybody who doesn't know, every once in a while, I'll shoot Caddy a message and I'll be like, hey, if you can pop in on the live stream, it'd be great. But he's typically in a different time zone, being over in India most of the time. And so it's incredible. By the way, Caddy, I'm just impressed that you get out as much content as you do because you're on that different time zone, and that's got to make for a crazy schedule. But you're in the States right now, so I almost sent you a message today, and I was like, well, I don't want to bug him. He's probably just enjoying himself. I'm so glad you stopped through so I could get you on here.
Of course, I literally just got back from a workout, and I just looked at through a different account, right? This is
oh, I don't know. I thought I sent it to my, well, you know what? It's on a few. We set it up so that it runs on a few accounts, but I just sent you the link after I set it up. So I'm just glad you're here, man. What's your take on the market?
Man, it's absolutely crazy. I've been talking about it, of course, during a live stream, but it gets down to what's dictating the market overall. I see Seth saying, let's go. we'll do more of these live streams in the future. Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to the Fed. I mean, if they're going to find any stable to find a very till then, we're just going to be in this where we pretty much balance off of these levels. Like a rally, we get some shorts covering, pretty much sell right back down.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sorry that you're lagging on our side, and so I just tried to remove something. I'm hoping that cleans it up. Um, let's try. I don't know if that's on my side or not.
Because I'm actually on the countryside. This happened earlier too at a meeting at 12, and I was just lagging off and traveling, right? So I'm actually in Boston now. But yeah, I just, of course, you know, for a little bit, and we can definitely longer later on.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I'll hit you up. I better cut it off because it's not. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, if it's my side or your side or what. But man,
Definitely
thank you. I appreciate
fine.
you stopping through. So
Definitely. All right, sounds good.
I will talk to you later, buddy.
Thanks, Aaron. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Caddy, my buddy. Yeah, I don't know. Look, I was just happy he popped in here for a second, and getting his take is always good. So sounds like what he was saying is he's expecting more volatility. Agreed. I'm definitely with him on that. I think so as well. And in fact, right before I got on the stream, it's not the reason I was late, but it didn't help me start on time either. As I was watching a video, JG Savoldi, BAM investor, is someone who I've been following and subscribed to for over a year, and have learned so much about the markets. And one of the things that he's been calling for, and in fact, I shared about a video that he had put out there back in August. Actually, he did a video and he talked about the bearishness of the markets overall, and he talked about the time frame in October, including specifically around October 20th. And what do you know? And look where we are and what's happening. Here's the biggest concern that I have with the market, and then we'll talk NIO here in a second. But I do want to talk about the market because, and I'm going to try and get the NIO back up as well. Hopefully, let's do this guy. That way we can kind of track that in the background. But here's the thing that kind of concerned me is we had that big, it looked like a bunch of buying volume on the SPY, and everything moved up yesterday after it had gone down, of course. But there was a lot of trade volume. And the problem in my mind was I was watching for a correlation of the VIX, the volatility to spike, and it didn't. And so I thought, oh man, you know what? That's not good. Because to me, I don't think we'll see a bottom in the market until we get some serious volatility. And the fact that we didn't have that made me really distrust what we saw with the SPY yesterday. And who knows whether that's right or not, but it's also in line with what BAM had been talking about. And again, and I watched Caddy's video where he was talking about, hey, be careful, with this, we're talking about yesterday, how crazy the move was for the markets. But yeah, let's go back to, and I should make sure, actually, can you all hear me now? Are we good? Am I back up, and audio's hopefully working okay? That was cool to have Caddy stop through. I know he's oftentimes in a different time frame and schedule and everything. So I see, give me a hard time. Look at me, Mr. Tech. You know what's crazy? And I'll tell you, for those who don't know, the last 2 weeks, my focal point, because I'm trying to just learn a little bit at a time, the content creation thing, and getting better at it. A few years ago, I hadn't even had internet for most of a decade. So this has been a huge learning curve, and I'm really just still figuring things out, doing content creation. But thumbnails, the pictures, I'm trying to get better with those. And so I've tried to make that a focal point, and I play around with it too, just because as I'm learning, trying to experiment and stuff. So I've done that in the last couple of weeks, just tried to be better with that. And then I'll add something else in and just try to slowly improve. But what all have I missed? Let me get back to the comments here for a second. What's up? We've got Emiliano in the house. Greece, what's going on? Math guy, welcome. Adebayo, what's up? Hopefully everybody can hear now. And what are people's thoughts on NIO stock price action? Are people thinking that it's going to go down further? Because what did we hit a new 52-week low or not? We were close when I checked earlier today, but I don't know if we actually went there. And thanks, Rune. Yeah, Rune has been an early supporter and viewer and has seen from when I was probably doing videos in the dark to now. So that's got to be funny to watch. And yeah, bio, that's right. I try. In fact, I just did drop the longest comments and response video I've ever done. It was over an hour. But what I do is I try to respond to everybody who stops through and is supportive of the channel and stuff like that. I wouldn't have a channel if people didn't come by and watch and check in and stuff like that. So I really appreciate it. And I even had somebody say, "Hey, why do you talk to or address the people who are all negative or nasty or whatever?" Well, you know what? They're leaving comments too, and there is a point at which after so many negative comments, I'm like, all right, at some point I might have to cut them off. But I really do. I appreciate people taking the time, even if it's to say, hey, you're a dummy and I don't like NIO or whatever. So let's see. Daniel, what's up? Says no 52-week low yet. Okay. So still kind of watching for that. Andy, what's up? Says, I hope you're well. Appreciate it. Mirza, what's up? Says, who cares how long it will go if we go back to $50 next year? Yeah, I think again, the sentiment for me, it's so curious. I'm so interested in watching people and how they react. And it's not just retail. I'm watching big money investors too, the institutional investors. They absolutely control price action in the short term. But interestingly enough, I believe that's why long-term positioning gives retail investors an advantage over big money, because big money a lot of times is so focused on the short term that it doesn't matter if you can locate a company that's going to the right place before it's profitable, then you get opportunities like what I think we've got right now. Edward says 1157 or something was 52-week low. I bought at 1207, 150 shares, could go lower. Yeah, of course, especially in this market, anything could happen. But wow, well played. Good job. What's up, Asian Fish? I see you. Welcome. Kevin says, just when you thought we were done with pain. Oh yeah. You know what? I'm strapped in for the long haul with I got the seatbelt fastened again for just the rough ride that it's been and that it might be. My thought is, and I got to say, my long-term goal is still, I'm nowhere near it yet. But 2,000 shares is what I want. And I'm just thinking, man, I'm getting a little greedy seeing this price action, thinking, wow, if I can get there, I might really have a nice, price average by the time I get there. If this stays in play for a little while longer, I don't know. But again, I'm trying to watch the market and kind of figure when that's going to bottom. Also, when is big money going to start flowing back into Chinese companies? I don't know. So there's a lot to kind of digest and watch. Math guy says, Aaron, I'm thinking about selling a $10 put expiring January 2025. It pays me $320. And doing the math, if I get assigned, it'd be like buying 100 shares at $6.80. Wow. That's crazy. Good for you running the numbers. I love it. That's why you're a math guy. Kevin says this is not going from $10 to $50 in a year. That's for sure. You know what, Kevin? I will not rule anything out. Let's not forget that NIO ran from $2 and change to the $60 plus range in just months. So look, I'm just kind of sitting back and going, all right, well, what do I want to watch? And really, I'm just kind of like, this is an incredible opportunity to study the market, what big money is doing, retail investor, the sentiment, and to keep really studying, focused on the research. That's me anyway. Imre, what's up? Welcome. Says, hi, Aaron, do you have any idea what happened to Joyce? Fresh mind investing, she disappeared. Yeah, I was sad that she stopped doing videos. I think that there was a real negativity that got to her doing the videos on YouTube, and she was primarily focused on Chinese-based companies. And so I think that was really, that became a real stressful aspect for her. And I'm presuming, I don't know, and I never talked to her really outside of just on comments and that sort of thing. But I also know that she made a lot of money investing and trading. And so she was not relying on YouTube by any means. So she may have just decided the stress wasn't worth it. But again, I'm speaking for her, and that's maybe unfair. That's just kind of, my thought with it. Let's see, what am I missing? I'm trying to keep up with comments, but I might fall behind, especially because Seth's not here to help me. But let's see. So, Afiki, what's up? Says I'm broke but still smiling because I'm long term. I'm telling you, I was looking around. I'm like, what else can I sell? I don't care about the losses. Let me pick up some more shares. It's TLM, too little money is my problem. And man, I just, if they keep these prices in this range, I'm gonna be really happy with my goal once I finally get there. So let's see. What else do we have? Kevin says that yeah, I wondered if somebody would call that out. And I'm still catching up here. End time watcher. I saw you, Minister Belk. Thanks. What's up? For stopping through earlier, by the way. Ramke says, hi, Aaron. Thanks for your content. I love it. Do you have confidence that NIO can ramp up in Q4? For 2 years, we stayed at the same place, and we said they need more time for ET5. I do believe that. Actually, let's take this bit by bit. He said in the earnings call to expect delivery records October, November, December, and we absolutely should get those. If we don't, I'll be not concerned, but I'll be watching a little more closely to see what the reasoning or maybe even excuses are, because they should come out with delivery records. And I think we'll actually get an indicator next week. I think we will get a big uptick on the weekly numbers of registrations when they come out. And I'll do a video as soon as I see that and talk about it, because the first week, I think a lot of government offices were shut down. And so I do believe the numbers that we got were very low because registrations, if they couldn't get those locked in, then or actually registered, then it would make sense as to why the numbers were not very high. So Rune says, I still believe that we will be around 200, 300 in 2025, if not more. And, it's almost, I almost want to be like, I almost don't even want to talk about price action because I'm just so focused on other things right now. But I do think we have a lot of upside, and it's just crazy. The price action is crazy considering what NIO is positioning itself to do. And I need to do a separate video and just talk about how early it still is, because I think those of us who are in the know are still not recognizing, we're forgetting how early it is and how few people really have any idea about this company at all. I just talked with someone yesterday who had never heard of NIO, had no clue. And I'm in the US. And so again, the co-founders, when they went to Europe, didn't realize how much demand in Europe they were going to have. These are great things, but it is a reminder how early it is. And by the way, we're back to deliveries. NIO has to get them up. They've got to be able to meet with demand in China so that they can fully expand into Europe and then, of course, the US. Kevin says that was the Feds pumping the market with billions. That was my thought actually as well yesterday. I was like, right after we get a horrible CPI reading and the Fed is trying to justify what they're doing, which is probably wrong, kind of like what it's, I mean, look, behavioral patterns matter. They cause the problems. They're not going to own that, but they are going to contribute to them. And they've said it's going to be more pain, but yeah, the market short-term suspect. And as soon as we got with the SPY, as soon as we dropped to new 52-week lows, I was kind of like, all right, when are we going to see? Are we going to go all the way back to the 2020 levels? That's kind of what I'm watching for now. And we'll see. Adrian says, hard to believe NIO will go to $8 to fill the gap. Hang Seng Index at 11-year low. And that's a good point. And it's kind of, I saw somebody, and NIO Nadad, shout out to him for posting about it. There was an article, somebody talking over in China about, this is the bottom, whatever. You know what? I'm going to try to look and see where the bottom is, but I just think it's funny when folks want to call the bottom because unless you know what all the big money's doing or when the Fed is going to step in and prop up markets or something like that, like it's good luck. Big money short term controls what price action there is for the markets and individual stocks. That's my thought. So Momentum Swing says loading up on January 2025, $7.50. Whew, it's the price. The price action is crazy. I gotta get some money to come in. I need my money train to come in so I can move it over to the NIO train. Eric says, as long as Tesla's down as much as NIO is, I'm pretty calm. The whole EV sector is going down at the moment. Be patient, guys. Great point. And I really haven't been paying that close attention to the sectors. but it is, it's, and there's such a disconnect for investors, especially the US, for what's going on in China. I mean, I saw the clickbait videos from some of the big YouTubers talking about in 25 days, China's going to disappear, is practically what they're saying. And it's just funny. Kevin, CCP can have, that's funny. We got jokes today. That's one thing about me. I'm gonna stay with the positive attitude and have fun and just kind of enjoy the journey. The journey, it's not always easy. Absolutely not. Life is not always easy. It's just kind of like you maintaining balance and focus. And for me, it's about the research. I want to stay in that, stay grounded in that. Adebayo says, I thought I could only get 100 shares before all this downward turns, but now that the stock market wants to give me more time, NIO 1,000 shareholders, I'm coming to meet you guys. 126 shares now. Congrats on being over your initial goal. And I'm with you. I'm so excited. I want to get to my goal. Oh, man. Math Guy says, yes, it is hard to believe if it drops so much. And if it doesn't, I am still getting over 50% of my investment cash. Talk about those options plays. And did I miss? No, I'm getting there. I'm slowly catching up. Mr. EQ said he's a better dancer than Elon. I'll believe when he gets his cars to USA in 2025. That's funny. I'm hoping they can get here in 2024, but we've got to see delivery ramp up in China first. So, and I really, really, really hope we get an announcement that NIO's working with BYD on some production, because BYD is a monster when it comes to production. And like on the sub brand, oh, that would be money. That would be so, so helpful for NIO. And it would be great for BYD because NIO brings the brand that is now becoming so desired. Very exciting. Despite the stock price action, I'm just like, I can't help being excited about the company. Frank says, hello, everyone. This market is breaking my back. NIO is going to come out with earnings early next month. Hey, Aaron, where do you see NIO after earnings? No clue, Frank. I really have no idea. What I will be watching for as a shorter term indicator, and if we see an uptick across the board with a lot of the big Chinese companies from that trade volume correlating or in conjunction with stock prices going up, that could be an indicator that big money is going back into the Chinese market. If that doesn't happen, then I'll be watching for NIO and how the delivery numbers come in. I do think we'll get a record. I'm expecting a record for deliveries. And how much of a surprise will that be to the market? And will it matter? That's kind of the shortest term time frame that I'm watching for. So, and an indicator of where we're at and who knows where we're going to be. I really have no idea. Let's see. Jay Wong says, how do you think of the market? Are we close to the bottom or still far away? For me, I said it earlier, I'll say it again. I'm watching, I think, an indication of maybe the market bottom will be when we see the VIX, or I kind of watched UVXY for a big spike. I'm watching for that. We did not get it with that SPY. And that's why I thought it was a false move yesterday, or at least the Fed propping it or somebody propping it up. Because we did not get that volatility spike that I think we'll need to see as an indicator that things are changing. Having said that, I do think we'll still get a political pump before the end of the year, and maybe it's going to come in November. I don't know. And I don't know, maybe it won't be a strong pump. But again, I'm just going to sit back, watch, try to learn and observe and study. But the spike in volatility, I'm definitely expecting that as hopefully an indicator. Eric says, do you think NIO will build a factory in Europe next year? Oh, good question. They're already pumping out the battery swap stations from Hungary over in Europe. And so I think that's part of it. They know they need to get the grid going. I also think that they will look at doing maybe a collaboration or something like that, but I don't know how soon. And really, it also depends on, they've got so much happening in China, and they've got the second phase of NIO Park that is being worked on. So it's a lot to keep track of. I don't think so. I'm not expecting that. But if demand is high enough and they can get the right partner, I wouldn't rule it out either. Rune says, some say that NIO could be profitable in Q4. If that happens, it will shoot. The delivery numbers are going to be an indicator. And again, that's where I'm kind of like shortest term. I'm watching that. I'm watching to see if the numbers NIO delivers for October end up surprising the market. That could be a positive short-term catalyst, but we'll see. Project Burpees, what's up? Welcome. Says, don't play options, just my opinion long-term. Yeah, I know, and you've seen some of that craziness that's gone on too, and probably have a better sense of that than I do. I'm still catching up on a lot of my research and things. I didn't even know about GameStop, for example, until after the fact, and so then I was kind of like, oh wow, there's a lot for me to learn here. Kevin says, "Sheesh, X-Bang getting slaughtered. It's rough out there. It's rough out there." Corey says, "Can someone explain to me why anyone would invest in Shopon?" I've never been a huge fan of it. And that's just me personally. I always thought it was a little bit of a hype play, and I thought it would have a lot of trouble trying to compete in that kind of mass market, especially with Tesla already positioned there, BYD already there. That's tough. That's tough competition. Um, Math guy says Kevin has his own company now, so it is in his best interest to make every other company out there look like a bad investment. So you would invest in his. Wait, who's Kevin? Is it Meet Kevin? Are you talking about? Let me know, math guy. Um, Chris Villarreal, what's up? Says if we have good delivery numbers for October, December combined with the midterm elections, we could see, yeah, and that's kind of, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I'm kind of thinking like you are. Like there are a few positives that could come in short term. We'll see. Momentum Swing says keep cost averaging down, going to break 15K deliveries this month, and then it's off to the races. I hope so, and it's possible. I just don't want to count on anything. It's been so rough for a while now, and I don't want to be the pumper who's being unrealistic, if that makes sense. I'd rather be a little conservative. So we'll see. Cutie Pie, what's up? Welcome. Asian Fish says hello, Cutie. Cutie Pie is a legend around here. I don't know if y'all know her, but I think most of you do because we love her around here. Momentum Swing, happy Friday. Awesome. Yeah, for real, huh? It's crazy. What a day. What a market. How about the crazy bull market from 2020 to where we are now, where I mean, it's been brutal. And people who have a lot of decades of experience talking about how crazy and wild this market is. So I'm just like, wow, what an opportunity to learn. Great time to be alive. It's wild. Rune, what's up? Says I know you were here earlier. I'm just excited. Wow, Neo and Tesla really getting getting hurt, both 7%. And again, it's just ugly out there. Fugly is what it is out there. Emiliano, what's up? Over in Greece. I just got my average at 24.98, road to 1,000 shares. Let's go. Fish says, Aaron, let's go sell plasma for money. uh, um, Cutie Pie says, what is plasma? Blood plasma. Yeah, trying to raise some Neo bucks over here. Fish says, man, I hope Neo stays at this price for 3 more weeks. I am getting 40,000 from overseas. Wow. And you know what? I actually have some, like I did an investment in a local business a couple years ago when I first got out and was working and just working and working and working. And I'm waiting because that might come in with this downtrend in the market, and with these prices, that's, I'm just knock on wood, maybe I can get there to that goal. Oof. Momentum Swing says political pump will come in November when Congress goes into gridlock. The less they do, the better. Yeah, it's it's kind of getting, it's laughable, but it's not, because it's sad that so many Americans who are taxpayers have to suffer, because of the inefficiency from others. But I don't want to be all negative. The market's already tough enough right now. So Mav guy says, yes, I was talking about Meet Kevin. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to say it. When I saw Meet Kevin do his video about the real estate and the investment group, my initial thought was, be careful, man, because I don't know that it's easy to run afoul of the SEC. Let me just leave it at that. I'm not going to go in depth. And remember, I was in federal prison, so I know people who got in trouble for doing a lot less than what he was talking about. Anyway, I'm done with that. We're done. We're moving on. And yeah, like it's yeah, hope he doesn't get himself into trouble. James, what's up? Says, not sure we get a political pump anymore. Oh, okay. After the Saudi oil drama, have to jump into a meeting. Appreciate you, Ron. I appreciate you. Thanks for stopping through. And yeah, I'm sitting back. I'm kind of like, political pump, or is this whole great reset thing like legit? I don't know. I know some people have that idea, and some people are legit on that train, but I don't know that they really have. I don't know what kind of influence, and I haven't researched enough to formulate a strong opinion. So I'm just kind of sitting back watching. Adrian says, do you still think we will see 68,000 vehicles in Q4? And what is your delivery prediction for next year? I don't want to get ahead of myself with next year. I will say that I'm expecting, I think 50,000 is doable for quarter four. And I know that 68 would be the maybe high side of what they could do. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I want to see what they come in with for October 1st. For October initially, not October, you know what I'm saying. But it is possible because they could be, and by the end of this year, their goal was to have a production capacity of 600,000. That's a whole lot more than what we've seen. But we've also seen they've struggled with supply chains and a lot of issues, and they're trying to ramp a lot at the same time. So I think that 50,000 is what we will see. I think that will surprise a lot of folks, but I don't know if it will make a difference with stock price action, because the way I look at it is like this: big money short term moves things. And if big money is thinking there's a better play to shorting companies in this market, then we're going to see a lot more of that. And so I just don't want to make any predictions based off of, there's so much unknown. Even if NIO comes in and crushes with numbers, the big money short term could still have a lot of negative input into stock price action. And I just don't trust them or the markets at this point. So, and that's why I'm sort of like the longer term. But if they keep leaving these cheap prices in play, I just hope I can get to my goal. That's kind of where I'm at. Super excited about what I'm seeing the company do. And man, it's just so early. So yeah, I'm stoked about where it can go, but I think 50,000 for quarter four. And then let's see, because again, wherever we're at with December deliveries will be an indicator of what we can expect for 2023. And we'll work off of that then. Edward says, so much geopolitical uncertainty right now: Russia, North Korea, China, Taiwan, anything can happen. Yeah. And that's absolutely been, I mean, it's hard to say that's not being priced in. At the same time, if you look back at when Amazon was not yet profitable, and when the market was in a bearish or downtrend, and then when Tesla wasn't profitable and Apple, these are companies that took a while for people to really accept and recognize. And until they were profitable, they were more subject to the short selling mechanisms. So that's, and the short selling, I think, has never been worse probably than what it is now. Maybe I don't have the long-term view to say that with any confidence, but it's hard to imagine that they've been this out of line before. It's pretty crazy. Kevin says NIO down 45% in 2 weeks. Wow. And I'm wired so different than some folks, because I'm thinking, wow, what a great time to buy. That's where I automatically go. But that's also because I've done a lot of research and I'm very confident in the brand and the company long-term. And it doesn't mean I'm right. So again, I'm just, my little nephews are like 10 and 12. And by the way, they have a little NIO stock. Their parents let them get some, but they're like, you're just built different. Cause I'm different. I think it's good. I don't know. We'll find out in a few years. We'll check back and I'll have everybody vote on that. Fish says, I have a buyer for my rice field Monday. Money coming. Yay. More NIO for me. Wow. That's good for you. That's awesome. Amari Official says short sellers are manipulating NIO stock. Yeah, I've even heard Pete from Philly, who I've listened to on some spaces, and he was in the market and saw some of the things that, like the short selling type of, including some of the illegal stuff that I think goes on. He talked about how he thinks that there are companies that have a basket and they're just shorting pretty much everything that's not profitable, or companies that aren't yet profitable, just like across the board, like a basket. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. But if you were going to be like, if you were in that mindset as a big dog, wouldn't this be the market to do it in? Because again, they're wired for short-term gains. They're greedy. And if they can get away with it, why not? Right? That's their thinking anyway. And not all of them, but some of them certainly. It's big money in it. Zach Lau, what's up? Says, in my opinion, the biggest catalyst is the CPC Congress next week. Oh, good one. I was waiting for somebody to bring that up. Hope there are changes to the whole lockdown thing. That's been the biggest concern for me in the last year. And it still is. I really, really hope they stop with the lockdowns super soon. That's just, man, That'll be big time. But yeah, what are they? I think October 16th. Is it starting this weekend? I think I saw a picture of people arriving. And I'm horrible. I'm still disconnected from that market. I still don't know where all they're gathering, if it's in Beijing or what. It shows how little I know. But I'll own it. Hockey Black, what's up? 50 more shares added. Let's go. Flacka what's up? Oh, Flecka wow, NIO down to 11. Glad I sold my whole position back when it was at 41. Still think NIO will do good in the future. Looking to get back into the stock over the next 6 months. I have a buy price at 7 at the moment. I think I've seen that a few times from retail investors who sold and decided they're going to come back. And I wonder how much we'll see that. And I wonder how much that will play in as some people have familiarity with the company. And let's face it, there are no shortage of channels out there. I don't know how many are really on point with the research or, into NIO. I know there's a couple really good ones. Marcel's the first one that comes to mind. He is the original, of course. But yeah, I think the retail crowd has an advantage in having access to more data through technology. But of course, the research, you got to do your own, due diligence and that sort of thing too. So Rune says, by the way, Aaron, got in again today, 505 shares. Let's go. But bought when the market opened. Should have waited. Yeah, it's, you know what? It's one of those things where if you're happy with the entry point, that's the way I look at it anyway. Could things go down more? Sure. That's the fluctuation of the market, especially short term. It's volatile. That's the only prediction I have for the market overall. Volatile. Amari Official says we need big money to push price up. Yeah, I believe we'll see it. The question is, do we have to wait for a huge jump in deliveries? Do we have to wait for profitability? Do we have to wait for the PCAOB to be done with the first round of inspections in China? There are a lot of unknowns, and those are all seeming to equate into negative pressure on the stock price. So Two Brother says, what's your goal? My goal is 2,000 NIO shares long term. That's my goal. And I'm not there. I'm not there. Once I'm there, I will reassess and look at, depending on what's going on, and if I can get more, and what else is happening, or if there are other opportunities, I'll share with people where I'm at when I get there, but I'm not there yet. So that's my take. TLM, I joke, is my problem. Too little money. The struggle is real because I can't buy the position I want. So Adrian says, do you think margins go lower for NIO? Good question. What were the biggest factors? And now I'm trying to think back to the earnings. I think no, because we're going to have the first full month of ET5s. I think those are going to boost margins. And having more of the ET7s should also help, because remember, they've been constrained. And so because of the casting issues. So I do think margins will go up, and I think it'll be soon. Yeah, that'll be a good thing to watch for, though. Imre says, any feeling about the upcoming CCP Congress in China? Yeah, I think it's going to be, it's kind of like the equivalent, and that's sort of the way I've looked at it, is sort of like the political pump in the US. China will have a reason to sort of pump things too, because it's basically possible political pumps in both countries. And so let's see what happens. That's been my take. And Eric says, have you heard anything new about the delisting issues? If they could come to an agreement, Chinese equities could become really attractive. Yeah, the PCAOB has already gone over to China, and it sounded like they might be done in December. And so I'm wondering, again, if we go back to big money and what they want to do, maybe big money is figuring, well, we can get away with shorting Chinese equities until, that point, at least. I don't know if that's the way they're thinking, but I try to keep it in mind as a possibility. Zach says this Sunday, I believe it lasts for a week. So that's the Congress, or the meeting in the, is it the Congress? Is that what they call it? The Congress? I know it's their political stuff. It's a big deal. Again, just showing off that we are so disconnected here in the West and in the US from China. And so it's always interesting for me to watch, especially the big YouTubers who have no clue about China. They even have less of a clue than I do. And that's a scary thought. But let's see. Keohane says, pulled the trigger on another 8 shares. Let's go. Adding. People see the opportunity in adding. Little Dean, what's up? Aaron, what's going on with these prices? Why are people panicking? Just chill, accumulate some more shares. These are some big discounts. I'm happy with the NIO progress, Team NIO. Yeah, I really think that what we're seeing a lot of, and here's the other thing that I haven't brought up in this stream is big money. If big money is getting margin called on the back end, or they're over leveraged and they need to reallocate funds, who knows what they're selling out of their portfolios. But big money obviously can move things more than a little money. So even as we see a lot of retail investors like us going, wow, this is a great time to buy and add, we're still cumulative, like collaboratively, I should say, we're still not able to make the dent that their selling pressure could make, if that makes sense. And so I think that absolutely could be in play as well. But I like, and I'm encouraged by how many retail investors are not freaking out and are going, wow, these prices, wow, really good. What's up, Captain Sarge? Says, what's up, guys? Everybody hang tough. Yeah, it's a good positive vibe, I feel like. Too bad Seth couldn't be here today, but he wanted to, by the way. So, and he said maybe next week we can do a midweek stream. I don't know. I don't want to count on it. We'll see what happens. Afiki says many NIO investors in the Netherlands are not happy with the only lease option. Me too. I was quite shocked. How do you think about this? Well, that's changing, right? They've already made it clear that they're going to allow sales. And I think it's just a matter of, I actually think the biggest issue that they have is they can't keep up with what they have demand wise in China. And so I think that was a reason, a challenge that they need to overcome. I also think the entrance into the different countries and areas based on the regulation, based on the taxation, based on the subsidies, there are so many other factors, and that price point will be different for the consumer based on a variety of things. And so I think there was just more than they were ready to tackle at this point, especially with, again, back to that point of they can't keep up. And we need to see that uptick in delivery numbers to about twice what it is, if not more, before they can really start catching up and properly expanding. That's my thought anyway. But I think they'll absolutely do what the user wants. And I thought they addressed it well, pretty quickly once there was kind of that outcry. Neil says there is no more support. We are down 40% in the last month. Support's relative, right? I mean, really, even folks who do the TA, and I'm not a TA expert, but let's face it, big money in the short term can move things. And so, we've seen NIO shoot, and we've seen NIO beaten down. Anything is possible, especially in a volatile market. And we're absolutely in a volatile market. There's no question of that. Even I can see that. And if I can see it, what's happening. Rune says, Afiki NIO said that we can buy the cars later on from Denmark. Yeah. And again, I've seen, and I don't know, Afiki, if are you on Twitter? I don't know if you're on there or not. The NIO community is growing over there. And they are. NIO is absolutely focused on the user. They're going to take care of the users whenever they can. Fish says these prices, this price drop are all artificial. Retail does not have the money to move the stock price. That's my thinking as well. Because again, you get one big institutional investor who decides to sell or has to sell for whatever reason. And that selling pressure could be immense. And that's the kind of thing that we can't really track real time. So I really don't get too worked up over it. My thing is I still stay with the research and the fundamentals, and the company and the brand is just exciting. And I get more excited, not less. And so the stock price action being down actually makes me more excited. I'm like, holy cow, I need to get to my goal. I need to, buy. I need to get some NIO bucks. Rune says, yeah, you might be right, Aaron. I absolutely think that NIO and the co-founders, especially, they went on their trip to Europe. I don't know if anybody saw that video. I shared Jason Yu's video. It was really funny. And it was great to see the interaction of the co-founders from NIO after their Europe trip. And they filmed it in the NIO house in Norway, but they talked about going across Europe, and they were both surprised because they expected the users or the consumers and the foreign markets to be more different than the Chinese users. And that, I think, is a huge positive, because I believe that's going to translate also into the US. I think every market users want to be taken care of. They're willing to pay for a premium brand and premium services, but they want to be appreciated and taken care of. And they'll pay for it if they're getting that service that I think NIO is going to provide. But I think it surprised the co-founders, and they talked about it. They talked about how they really were, the expectation was different than what they actually saw. But they also talked about the grid, which is something I've shared about, and that is it's very different in China, where NIO's already got over 1,160 battery swap or power swap stations. They already have the partnerships in place. They've already been providing part of the grid, versus Europe, where it's not that established yet. They do have the Hungary plant, the battery swap, power swap plant in Hungary. They're starting to get that going, but they also want to address that. The grid needs to be addressed, and they need time to address the demand that is really high in China. So let's see those delivery numbers ramp and like 2x, and then let's go from there. And then let's see when the analysts start realizing, holy cow, this company's not far from being profitable. That's going to be fun to see too. But, I do think it matters what the backdrop of the market overall is at that time. And maybe the PCAOB being done, maybe that'll all, play in. We'll see. There's a lot going on. Vicky says, thank you for the info. I missed that news from NIO. Happy that they will have options to buy later on in Europe. Yeah, they're going to do what they can. It's one of the reasons I picked the company. I'm very confident in their willingness to take care of the users. Because if they wouldn't, I wouldn't be so bullish on them. We don't need another company. I see so many complaints about Tesla, but I also don't really see them as direct competitors. Some people do. I don't. So that's just me. And in the premium space, that's why I think NIO does well, because they're geared for that. They've got the margins also that help. Imre says, what do you think, or what do you know? Will NIO provide the exact same services as in China? NIO recently expressed that they think Tesla will fade away because they do not improve their services. Yeah, I think, and I saw that article. I didn't take the co-founder, William Li, to be saying that necessarily about Tesla. He basically said, my take was, he said it's going to be a challenge for them as more competition comes. And he's right. But I think it was a little bit skewed by one of the places that put it, or that retweeted it or whatever. And I don't know, maybe it was said differently in another place, but again, I see them as different. What NIO did say, and the co-founders in that video that Jason shared, was they said there's really only one change on the NIO app in the countries where it's expanding to versus China. And what was that difference? Somebody can probably tell me. I'm trying to think off the top. Was it something to do with the NIO points? I can't remember, but there's only one difference. In other words, and that's, again, that was surprising for them, that so many of the markets they're going into, customers want the same thing. And that is I'm very bullish on that. That's really encouraging. But again, we're back to that. How fast can NIO ramp? Rune says, well, it's bedtime for me. Have a great weekend all. Thanks, Rune. Appreciate you. And sleep well, buddy. Michael, what's up? Copenhagen. I was at NIO Berlin last weekend. Nice. Was it amazing? Was it exciting? And I'd like to know your thoughts and your experience. And was everybody shocked and confused about the subscription thing when they were kind of like, wait, we want to buy the vehicles right now? That would have been funny to sort of experience. I like to sit back and kind of observe things. I think that would have been interesting. Cap Sarge says, great to see a lot of international interest here, especially Europe. We got to keep perspective here. An EV boom will come again and money will flow back in. No point selling now. We stick together. I'm going to do a video and I'm going to recap. I don't know how many remember. I did a video early on and I talked about the major growth phases for NIO. And the first major growth phase is market awareness. That's what I called it. And I just talked to somebody yesterday who I was telling her I had one of my other sweatshirt on, and I was like, yeah, I've got a YouTube channel and I talk about this stock. You ever heard of the company? And she's like, nope. And then I said, oh, okay, well, it's based in China. And it's always interesting for me to just get feedback and see how people respond. But she wasn't familiar with the company at all. So here in the US, still a huge disconnect and a lack of awareness. Even in Europe, the co-founders were surprised that so many Europeans really want to buy the vehicles. And the sedans are both still basically brand new. So imagine once those things get on the roads and people see them, it's hard to not be excited. That's all I'm saying. Fish says, Aaron, when is the Q3 earnings call? I don't know. I haven't seen a date, but I also haven't looked. So I got come clean on that. Somebody had said earlier that it was coming up soon. I would imagine, I want to say that they usually do it around the 9th or 10th of the month. And that also gives them a chance to get the delivery numbers out from October and early November. So that would be my guess without looking. But it is just a guess. Michael says, I was at NIO Berlin last week, an amazing event after at the rooftop party. William Lee and Li Hong were there and everybody could talk to them. Great guys. That's cool. And that was the sense I got from, it was funny. I was kind of like, it's almost like Seth and me when we're hanging out, just joking, doing a live stream. It was kind of that vibe where they were like joking and teasing each other about their trip and blogging and just different things. And it was cool. They were even talking about how NIO users are their bosses, and stuff like that. But really, what a perspective. And again, to provide what they provide, service and brand wise, isn't that what you want? Isn't that what you're willing to pay for? If you're going to pay for premium, like that's what you want. Somebody who really actually cares and wants to provide great service and products. Corey says, NIO community is growing. In 2 weeks, I've seen more NIO mentions on Tesla YouTube channels than in the last 2 years. That is a really good point. And I do think that, and it's really interesting because you kind of get it across the board. You've got Tesla investors who see the value and don't see NIO as a direct competitor for Tesla and who are bullish on NIO. Then you also see some who really seem to hate and really seem insecure is what it seems like to me. And I just don't know. I can't decide if they are insecure because they haven't done the research or because they really think that they're direct competitors, or if they just really don't like NIO or like I can't get a sense on that part. But it sure is interesting. And I do think it makes sense with the ET5 coming out. And I still see articles where they say, oh, the Chinese Tesla. I've never thought that of NIO, but I do understand, at least initially, it does catch the attention, let's say, of an American who has never heard of the company. When you say, oh, well, Tesla, people say, oh, sure, yeah. And so again, we're back to that market awareness. It's still that early. So as we watch that, those are great metrics and data points. Corey, I'm glad you mentioned it. I think those are exactly the kinds of things that we've got to watch. The Seth Twitter check where he looks at NIO Global and how many followers they have, and then he looks at Elon Musk and Tesla. It's a simple metric, but it's effective for saying, wow, it's still really early. There are a lot of folks who don't know about this company yet or this brand. But once those sedans get out and people start seeing them, they're going to be asking questions. They're going to want to know more. I absolutely believe it. Michael says, yesterday I was at the Danish UAB, user advisory board event. I test drove the ET7 for about 45 minutes. Amazing ride and super fast in sports plus, but huge car. I think ET5 will be better for me. You know what? That's a great point, and I'm going to pin it because I want people to be able to see that. And I appreciate that. Thanks, Michael. I think one question I had and was wondering about was in Europe and with the roads and the parking and everything else, if the ET5 would be a lot more desirable, or if maybe certain markets, like maybe in Germany, they would really lean more toward the ET7, where they've got, of course, BMW and Audi, Mercedes. And so, I didn't know how big the vehicles were, relatively speaking, and if different markets would adopt at a different rate or pace. So that is something I was curious about. Glad to have your insight on that. Appreciate it. What's going on in the market? I haven't even looked. That's the fun thing about, holy cow, 1177. Oh yeah, it's getting pushed down. Ooh, they're pushing it down. They're pushing it down, and I can't buy more right now. What's the SPY doing? Let's check in on SPY. Because, as I said before, for anybody who didn't hear it, once the SPY got below the 52-week low, and let's go 1 year so we can see just how ugly it's been. Oh, look at that fake big green candle from yesterday on the SPY. And yeah, so I'm thinking we've got lower to go. That's just my take, There's my lack of TA. I mean, I'm a simple guy, and I can see some things like trend down and the backdrop of the Fed promising more pain. Like, that's what it is. And so the real question for me is, when can I get more NIO bucks, and how many shares can I add at that time whenever I'm able again? What's up, Jeff? NIO San Francisco's in the house. He's the NIO Twitter king, I think, is a fair assessment. I think that's what we'll call him. Welcome, buddy. And no, Mustache Seth couldn't make it. He sends his regards, though. Adrian says NIO at $20 billion market cap, delivering over 100,000 vehicles a year. Rivian doing only 23,000 deliveries and recalling most of them, trades at $30. Reminds me of 2018 when Kathy set her Tesla target. How about Kathy Wood? Man, she's had a tough go of it. I'm telling you, oof, that's rough. And I still need to there's a few videos I need to follow up on and get through. One of them is the Marcel Brennan Aarons video. I'm still behind on that. That was a longer one and I haven't been able to sit through it. But I want to. It's always good stuff. Marcel is pretty much always money. And then I do want to see what Kathy Wood's got to say because it's a different take. And I do like getting a different perspective. Even when I do disagree with people on things, I still want to know what different views and lenses are, because there's always an opportunity to learn and see things that, others may recognize that I'm not. But yeah, it's fascinating how, and it's almost one of those things where the price action, it's so ridiculous. But you know what? It's also, there are so many other factors. And again, short term, big money short term is what pushes stock price. So that's where we are. And that's what it is. Yeah, Jeff says lots of great news, but heading down. I'd say we see, okay, Jeff is thinking $5 again. Man, let me get my money train to come in before that happens, please. Let's go. If it happens. Little Dean says, what delivery numbers can we see for Q4? I'm expecting, and I want to see 50,000 plus. And what I'm real curious about is how that translates, if it translates into the stock price and how that's received. So the October numbers will be our first indicator in early November. Very stoked about that. But even shorter term, we'll get a little hint this next week, and I'll do a video on it as soon as we get that data. I think that we are going to have a bigger registration number, a much bigger registration number in the second week of October. So I'm excited to see that and share it. And then that'll give us a little bit better idea where we might be for October. Fish says NIO San Francisco is here. Yeah, that's right. We can now start officially. Michael says our parking lots here in Denmark are super small. Okay. I was in Nashville a few years ago and they were like twice the size. By the way, at the event yesterday, they said limousine about the ET7. So yeah, too big for me. Okay. And that's what I'm wondering. Again, perspective and the lens and the view absolutely matters. It's different, and again, it's kind of like the battery swap stations, the power swap stations in the US. It may look completely different. Although I do still think it'll make sense and translate to go in the bigger cities, at least. But I'm so curious how everything goes. I'm just excited to be a part of this. Awesome community, by the way. Y'all are great. And we got the greetings. Frank says, hey, Aaron. Pants is telling me he wants out because it's down 50% in 2 weeks and wants out. I convinced him to stay in and hopefully buys more shares. I'm like this. I'm not going to tell people what to do with their money because I can handle the risk. I can handle the beat down and the kind of mental whatever. For some people, it's really, really stressful. And if it's too stressful for someone that it makes, for an unhealthy situation, then, they've got to factor that in. And it's not for me to say what that is for anyone else. And that's one of the reasons when somebody pops in the comments and they're like, hey, I sold, or I did this, or I did that. I'm like, hey, I just hope you're happy with whatever you're doing. I want to see people win, whatever that looks like for them. But I do know I have contacts who don't have the same risk tolerance. And if I know that they don't, then I talk to them a little differently. For me, it all comes back to asking myself questions. The more questions I ask myself, the more clarity I can have with what I'm doing. And so one of those scenarios, and I see Jeff now chiming in. Yeah, he's saying, hey, I think it's going to go to $5. And I already know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick up another 33,000 shares. What a monster, beast mode. But that's what I mean. You ask yourself the question, what if this happens? What do I do? What if this happens? What do I do? And you get a better sense of where you're at with things by asking yourself the questions. And so I'm a big advocate of asking questions as opposed to saying, hey, you should do this or you should do that. I want to steer away from that as much as I can because, it's different for everybody. Stress is managed and risk tolerance is different for everyone. And I mean, I come on here and I smile all the time, and some people can't even stand that. But I've also been through a whole lot of other stuff that, this stuff isn't hard for me relative and compared to what I've been through. So, that's got to factor all that in. So I just hope whatever your friend does works for them. Michael says, Neil, almost your low. I have orders on 1166 time to DCA. Can it go to single digits? I mean, again, anything is possible. The market is so volatile. That's the one thing I'll call. And I know I'm right. Volatility. I'm predicting it. It's going to stay in play for the market. And yeah, probably for NIO too. So I don't know. I don't know where she goes. I don't know where the bottom is, but I hope my money train comes in so I can get some NIO shares, get some more NIO bucks in. Yeah, Jeff, I saw that. Nice to see the ZF partnership. CNEV Post covered that, and they have a new subscription service that they're coming out with. I need to look at that. I didn't have time to really get into it. And again, I'm so far behind. I have to pick. Fun fact for y'all who don't know, since getting out of federal prison in the last few years, I got onto Facebook and then left Facebook. I got onto Instagram and left Instagram. I now have been on Twitter for almost a year, coming up on a year, I think. But it's mostly for research purposes. YouTube obviously is kind of the one that I picked, and I will get a TikTok channel. Or do you do a channel there? I don't know what you do there. I'll get a TikTok, but it's funny because I'm just trying to really focus on one thing at a time. Because I'm a simple guy and I can only do one. I'm a guy. Are you kidding me? I can barely do one thing at a time. So let's see. Eric, wait, did I miss anybody? Let me see. Yeah. So the ZF partnership, of course, looks cool. And I want to look further into it, but like so many other things, it's on the back burner, the shelf right now as on my to-do list. Eric says, do you know if there will be any macro news next week to look out for? You talk about NIO or overall? Because let me think. What I think is, and per the guy, Bam, JG Savoldi, who has compiled and studied over 100 years of market data and who did predict what we've seen in the market with this volatility, talked about October 20th, that time frame being extremely bearish. And so that's next week. And so I think we absolutely could see, and I'm expecting to see more volatility. Again, we just had the new 52-week low for the SPY. And so that's a big indicator. The fact that even with that, what I think was a fake pump, we did not get a correlation of a big volatility spike tells me I don't think we've seen the lows for the market. And so how does that affect NIO? Who knows? NIO at times it's traded separately in a positive and negative way, and at times it's kind of traded with it. So I don't know. If we see big money come back into NIO, I'll watch for that, and we'll see that reflected in trade volume with upward, price movement, obviously. But the other thing, and the shorter term one that I'm watching for is going to be October delivery numbers in early November, and I want to see how that's received and if NIO stock does anything from that. I want to see if anybody's actually paying attention, big money wise, because they can move it if they want the price. U11OA says prices are dropping. What a great sale to snag more shares. Been buying every week via call options. And again, I said it before, the retail crowd who has paid attention, who has studied, done some research on NIO, sees this company and this brand and considers this a buying opportunity. A lot of people are seeing it and buying. We just don't have the buying power that a lot of the big money has. And because they're selling, I think we're seeing a lot of that kind of bleed over. And so, look, I know a bunch of us are going to keep buying if the prices stay low. And that's cool. That's great. I hope we absolutely crush it because we see it and we believe in it and are buying right. Frank says, hey, Aaron, I just got off the phone with my brother. He is freaking out because NIO is down 50% in the last month, but I convinced him to invest even more right now to So as cost basis goes lower, you know, it sounds, if you separate the emotion from it and you go, hey, it's cheaper now. If I believe in the company and the fundamentals and I'm willing to wait long term, then why would I not buy when it's cheaper versus where I was buying when it was more expensive? You know what I mean? And that's where for me it's real simple. What are the fundamentals? Is the company getting better? Are they getting stronger? The brand is not even recognized here in the US, really. You know, the fact that I can meet a stranger, ask them about it, and they have no idea about the company, that tells me we're still in the first major growth phase for NIO, which is market awareness. So cool. And I'm going to have to talk about that. I got to bring it back because that was the one I did early on too. That video talking about that. Fish says they keep getting banned from Twitter. That's weird. I don't know what to tell you. Well, or maybe you know why. I don't know. I'm going to leave that one alone. Charlie Boy, what's up? So TikTok is very good for exposure. Hope you do well in there. And that's my thought and my take. I just don't. It's all new. You know, everything is new. I'm just now learning how to do like decent thumbnails. You know, so but that's part of it is, and especially those who kind of like with NIO. NIO's like the underdog. It's the company that isn't yet recognized. And I kind of identify with that a little bit. I'm like, I'm just figuring things out. Like I'm just barely getting started. You know what I mean? So it's going to be fun for people who saw me earlier or see me early on and then get to sort of see the journey as I try to grow and get better as an investor and as a content creator. So, yeah, Eric, overall, yeah, I addressed that. Overall, I do think we've got more volatility and my guy Bam, who's been pretty good with the predictions on the market going down and being crappy. And then the kind of scary thing, depending on what scary is for people, is the SPY. You know, are we going to see those levels? If you look back to 2020 when they got that dump, when they said, "Hey, everybody in the U.S., stay home and be scared." You remember that? It was March of 2020, I think. And you look at that drop for the market, is that where we're going to go? And that's kind of what I'm wondering and watching. But because we didn't get the volatility spike and the UVXY is where I was looking for a spike from with that, I think it was fake yesterday, the SPY bouncing like it did because we didn't have that volatility spike. So we'll see. I think we'll be closer to a bottom when we see that kind of, index spike. But we've also got the midterms coming up. So almost time to prop the market up, right? Imre says the NIO share price in the current $10 to $20 range will sound crazy years later. I bought Tesla shares in 2017 and sold cheap due to the FUD. I won't make the same mistake again with NIO. And you know what? Good for you. I've seen other investors who did a similar thing. And that's the thing is the hard thing to do. If you want to invest at a high level and do it regularly, you're going to lose sometimes. You're not going to make money all the time, every time. But the real challenge and the hard thing is learning when you lose. That gives you an opportunity to make a whole lot more money later. I absolutely believe that. I lived it and did it with real estate. And I'm just waiting and watching for that market to come back full circle because we're just barely seeing the first domino or two with that fall. So, and that market takes longer also, but Champagne, what's up? This is Big Band's running up. Sean says, just hope that NIO is actually able to sell cars in the States. The current anti-China sentiment from politicians makes me less hopeful. I think, this is just my opinion, I think that they can navigate and work around that with partnerships if they want. I also think that the sentiment is going to change. And the easiest way for all the posturing and all the imagery and the way people want to, and I'm talking mostly politicians who want to look a certain way and be all, we're tough and we don't like China and blah, blah, blah. But I'm looking at it like, hey, the generation and Seth, my buddy who's not here today, his generation is growing up with a company called TikTok, and TikTok is changing things. And TikTok is a Chinese-based company. They're actually owned by ByteDance. And that is now becoming the norm. So in 5 years, when the ET5 and the ET7 are more widely known, or by the time they come to the US and his generation is ready to be buying vehicles and they have an opportunity to buy something like that, I absolutely don't think they're going to be concerned about it being a Chinese-based company. I think they're going to love the tech. because that's what they've grown up with. And they're not going to care. They're going to be kind of indifferent to the idea of it being a Chinese-based company because look at those cars. I mean, they're incredible. But that's just my take, and we'll see. When it's kind of like the market. When you're in it and there's so much noise and there's all this distraction, it's really hard to focus and kind of block stuff out. And I think to an extent, that's what we have. We have so much posturing, is what I call it. So many people who just want to. And the other thing is the headlines and getting the attention. There's so much of a short-term reward for the people who are the loudest. But the loudest one in the room is the weakest one in the room, right? I mean, long term, does that hold up? And that's where I'm looking, and why I'm like, hey, it's a long-term play, knowing and recognizing that short-term big money moves things, and they're focused on the short term more than anything else. That actually makes me more bullish on the long term, because that means I just have to stay grounded and focused on my research. And I love where I see this thing going. So, and I still think it's really early. Optimo, what's up? Says, hi guys, been DCA all year. Never thought we'd go this low again. Still a firm NIO believer though. And thanks for all the info you share. Yeah. And again, I'm seeing this. There are so many retail investors, and it's not that the negative price action doesn't affect us, but we recognize there's an opportunity there, and that's exciting. And by the way, it's a good time for me to say I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. But I'm so excited about the future for this company. Wow. And yeah, the price action opportunities, let's go. I think he says, FYI, NIO and QuickFit, Dutch car service with 170 shops in the Netherlands, signed a big contract for maintenance and repair of all NIO cars. QuickFit is well-known car service, only not that premium. Okay, interesting. That's good. And this is the kind of stuff, this is why I love the community, the NIO global community, because there's so many people who can teach me, because I have no clue about so many of these other markets. And even in China, there's so much of a disconnect. It's hard. You really got to get in and find good people to study and learn from. And neutrality is even a challenge. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate the share. And again, it's one of the reasons I love the community, global community. And we don't need, I came back to the US and it's never been more divided. And I'm like, man, we need more unity. We need people to support each other, encourage each other, more positive attitude, less of the division. And I see the same thing globally. They're global markets now. It's where we're at. Technology has kind of furthered that. So let's just be friends, and we'll sing Kumbaya, or not. Singing optional. How about that? Little Dean trying to get a price prediction out of me. I still refuse. I still refuse to give a price prediction. And one of the reasons, a big reason, has been I haven't trusted the market, and I wanted to see what the market was going to do. For example, is the market going to bottom before the end of the year? That's one of the things I want to see. And without having the confidence, I think we've got more volatility, at least short term. I hope it bottoms soon, but I also think the manipulation that goes on, and I'm talking specifically, I absolutely think the Fed is involved. And maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't care. I mean, I'm just going to call it like I see it. Maybe I'm wrong, but if they are trying to help the market not crash, then I think that's part of why we've had this slow bleed out over the last year. And so the question is, how much longer will the bleed out go? And would it be better to just have things drop, tank, crater, whatever, and then we can get back to more natural markets? But as long as they are interfering and manipulating and doing the same stupid bad decisions that they're making on policy stuff, I don't trust the market. And because of that, unfortunately, I don't think we're bottomed for the markets. And that means I don't want to speak on a price prediction for NIO. Not in the short term. So, but good try, Little Dean. I appreciate it. Jeff says amazing partnership. Fish says, I bet QuickFit is for NIO sub brand. Who else wants to see NIO partner with BYD on a sub brand? Man, they would get vehicles out so fast. Jeff says price prediction. No way. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Whew. And Fish has a prediction 300 in 2027. And how fun is this? What if, let's play a little game right now, because it makes me think of this. And somebody I can't remember who said it a little earlier, talk about the 10 to 20 price range for NIO stock in the shares. So how about this one? How about if NIO only goes back in 2023, let's say, we'll throw this out there. What if NIO only goes back to its former all-time high in 2023? Well, gosh, if you buy right now, that's almost a 6x return from buying now. That's not bad, right? 6x in less than a year. That's not bad, right? So again, it's perspective, and will it happen? I don't know. Let's see. Jeff says, "Go fish." Fish says, "What is going on with the BYD deal?" I've been hoping for a long time that we would see an announcement that BYD is going to partner with NIO on sub-brand, because BYD is a monster with production and NIO brings the brand, and that would be a beautiful sub-brand partnership. I have been hoping for that, shooting for that, and talking about it for over a year. Gosh, it might have been a year now. And I will be stupid excited if we get that announcement, but I don't know. I'm speculating on it. I have no idea whether it's actually in the works. Jeff says $300 a share. I'm sending a jet to pick up Aaron. I'm down. Let's go. I'm ready. Are we going to China? Is that where we're going? Michael says, I don't currently have stocks in Xiaopeng, but WTF, 7 billion market cap now. That is insane. Wasn't it 70, 80 last year? Yeah, it's wild, right? But it does. The market is crazy. The market is so bizarre. Again, if you just look at from 2020 until now, you look at where the market dropped to in 2020 till now, and then let's fast forward to the end of the year, because again, I don't think we've seen the bottom of the market yet. So how wild is that swing going to be? And ultimately, if you're long term, which I think makes the most sense, because you can kind of weed out a lot of the volatility short term by being long term, then if you can wait 5-10 years, the question is, what kind of discount are you able to buy and pick up whatever position you want and whatever you believe in? NIO or something else is up to you, obviously, but that's my view. Jeff says we're going anywhere. Well, we'll talk about it. Let's see that 300 price, and then we'll decide, and we'll go, man. Let's go. I'll try and get Mustache Seth to go too. Fish says at 100 we party in Vegas. Oh man, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait for I do think it's imminent. I don't know when. I don't know how soon, but I think it's a matter of time before we run again. It's gonna be fun. Jay, what's up? Says, how much of an advantage do you think the lower labor costs give them? The U.S. car companies spend big money on their union labor. Their hourly plus pensions can take a company down. I think that the single biggest factor that for me validates that management is doing an incredible job is $8.1 billion on the balance sheet for a year, with massive, incredible expansion into new countries, with new products, with R&D, with investments, with the NIO Park. It is very, very exciting for me. And I don't talk about it a lot, but it's because I want to be conservative and I don't want to get ahead of myself. It is very exciting that they have done so much expansion. And yes, the delivery numbers have kind of been stagnant, relatively speaking. But that means if and or when they 2x and 4x, what are we really going to see? And what can this company really do? That's the kind of sort of overview concept as the key for me. That's what I'm excited about. And Marcel has said it. He said it well. It's a lean business model. The partnerships, although the supply chains can hold things up, although the battery constraints, partly from CATL, probably not catering to NIO earlier on, those things did slow growth to an extent. But at the same time, the same partnership with CATL, for example, in the battery asset company, are why NIO is able to keep the costs down. And Mr. EQ is very sensitive to that stuff. He's very much in line. I remember him talking about the positioning of NIO Park relative to where it was, I think, with respect to XPT. And also it was like, he said, and he was citing off some really particular numbers, some specific data points. And I was just like, wow, okay, he's really price conscientious. And that's great, because there's two ways that a company can really grow and get to a massively profitable spot. One is by cutting expenses. One is by improving profits and either margins, basically. And I think this company, with him leading it, will do both. And so I'm just kind of like, I got to rein myself in, because it's very exciting. I think those are really positive signs. And that's exactly why I'm less concerned. But it does bring up a good question, Jay, of if NIO does do a factory in Europe, maybe they partner with somebody in Germany, let's say, to actually produce vehicles from there. What does that look like? And how is that cost-wise going to go? I think the overall view of the company and management is partnerships are a net win. And it looks like that's the case. But we also haven't seen them really ramp and scale yet. So the delivery numbers are still, again, we need to see those things double, triple, all that stuff. And then we'll get a better sense. But I think what will happen is whenever it's recognized by analysts and by big money funds that this is a true monster in the making, then I think we're going to see big money pile back in, and they're going to FOMO in, and then it'll be fun to see where we're at and what time frame that is. So that's just me speculating. I don't know, but it's fun to kind of look and say, okay, I think I'm seeing some things. Let's see. Vidi, what's up? When will NIO start delivering in new EU regions? I would say check with people. And if you're not on Twitter, jump on there. There's a great NIO community, and you can see people from the different countries where the NIO app is available to them. And they're great about giving updates and sharing what's going on there. There's some really good people. I follow them. So if you go to Twitter, I'm primarily there for research purposes. And so jump on Twitter and follow me, and then you can look at who I'm following and pick some of them out and find some really good people. Afiki says, Aaron, did you shoot some hoops this week? You know what? Saturday and Sunday are usually the mornings that I go. And I didn't last weekend. So I'm really excited to go tomorrow morning. I'll get up when a lot of people, I go to the gym when everybody else is asleep. And so I usually get the whole court to myself, and I do drills, and it's great. I love it. And I mentioned earlier, I'm just a different kind of dude, and that's me. So, but yeah, I'm excited too. And maybe I'll do another video sometime. I just don't, when I'm focused on my, I'm in my zone of trying to put in the work and get my, my hoops drills in. And so I'm not really thinking about recording myself doing it. So that's why I don't do more of those videos. But Bootank Outdoors says, what's up, Aaron? This market is, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I don't think we've seen the bottom either. But I'm just watching SPY for new lows. Maybe we go near that 2020 low point range. And again, I'm looking for a correlation to accompany that, some kind of a volatility spike. And hopefully, knock on wood, hopefully that'll mark the bottom of the markets overall. And who knows, for NIO, for the Chinese-based companies, they've been getting just crushed for a long time. And when big money wakes up and realizes, I think that there's real opportunity there, and that their markets, provided they stop with the shutdowns, are able to grow faster and do a lot more. Relatively speaking, I think there will be some big money, going back over there. But for now, shorting is probably making them more money in the short term, and that's probably why we're seeing so much of it. Just my take. But I think I am going to wrap this thing because it's market's closed and everything. And we've just been going, but it's been fun and enjoyable. I appreciate everybody stopping through. And where's NIO? 1175. Whew, tough. Man, I need to get some more NIO bucks. But yeah, let me wrap this thing up. Hey, folks, thanks for stopping through. I appreciate it. I appreciate it if you gave me a thumbs up. I usually forget to ask, or I'm just not thinking about that. I'm just enjoying this part of the journey. And that there are so many cool, great people on it with me. So NIO Global Community, I will talk to you all again very soon. I'll have some more videos coming out this weekend. Thanks, everybody, and take care.